Okay, so sufficient assumption questions have the word assumed and if in it.
Okay.
It means enough, right? Like sufficient ends in the T, and so it triggers stuff. And so these are actually just like super strengthened questions. And so they're
Okay.
all bottom up. So on sufficient questions, we get to bring in new information to our stimulus. And our goal of sufficient assumption questions is to find the assumption that would guarantee our conclusion. And so for 25, it says there can be no individual freedom without the rule of law. For, so we're introducing a premise here. So the reason
Mhm.
why there can be no individual freedom without the rule of law is because there is no individual freedom without social integrity. And pursuing the good life is not possible without social integrity. So what is our conclusion here?
Mm, is it the first part of the first sentence?
So we're trying to say can be no individual freedom without the rule of law. And our only support for this is that because there is no individual freedom without social integrity, and pursuing the good life is not possible without social integrity.
Hmm.
A valid argument.
So there could be no. No, because I think like it's missing something.
Right. There's a gap, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to say that if there can be no individual freedom without the rule of law. So we're trying to say that if we have individual freedom, that what's necessary for that is the rule of law, right?
Yes.
But our support says there is no individual freedom without social integrity. So if we have individual freedom, they're trying to say like you must have social integrity.
Yes. Yeah, I wrote both of these down.
Excellent. And then pursuing the good life is not possible without social integrity. So we're trying to say if you have the good life, then you must have social integrity. So we have to find a way to get from here to here using our support. So we have to bring something new in. The reason I wanted to point it out that sufficient is so important is sufficient means like we're guaranteeing the conclusion, which is very different than necessary, where necessary is just what's needed for the conclusion to even have a chance. Which we'll go over a question like that in a second. So for here, which I think your thought process on this was absolutely correct, where it says there can be no social integrity without the rule of law. So if we have social integrity, we must have the rule of law. That connects the gap for us, right? Because if we have it, because if we have individual, let's use a different color. If we have individual freedom, then we have social integrity, which is the same here, which connects rule of law, which is why B is our correct answer. But if we add this to our stimulus, it guarantees this conclusion 100%.
Right.
We tend
Okay, wait, can we go over that one more time? So there can be no social integrity without the rule of law. Um, there can be no like I'm just trying to see what the link is, what the direct link is.
so let me start over. Okay. So how would you diagram there can be no individual freedom without the rule of law?
So yeah, so I get all the statements in there, I get how to diagram. Like I know it's IF to RL and then IF to SI and then GL to SI. Like I understand how those are diagrammed.
Sorry, now I'm individual freedom. That means that we have social integrity,
Mm-hmm.
and pursuing the good life is not possible without social integrity. So
And then so
we're trying
clarify.
to say that there is no individual freedom unless we have the rule of law. With what would be the contrapositive of this?
No rule of law. If no rule of law, no individual freedom.
Excellent. But we don't have any support that's telling us that, right?
Mhm.
So how would you, let's negate this one, so it'll help us later. How could we negate this one? Or sorry, what would be the contrapositive of this?
Um, if no, what is it? If no social integrity, no individual freedom, and no good life.
Awesome. So essentially, all our support says is this, but we have nothing that's connecting rule of law to individual freedom. Like we have nothing down here that does that for us. So somehow we need to connect individual freedom to the rule of law, right? So if I was looking through here, I would be like, well, for one, I need one that has rule of law in it. But
Mhm.
what he is saying is there can be no social integrity without the rule of law. If we have social integrity, that means that we have the rule of law, correct?
Yes.
And what would be the concept positive of that?
If no rule of law, no social integrity.
And what does that trigger?
If, oh, no social integrity, no individual freedom, no good life.
Excellent. And that's what we needed to have connected, right?
Oh, okay. Let me write this down properly.
I should circle these as the same because these are the same variable. You see how we connect the gap between the two by if we added this premise in to our argument, it would guarantee the conclusion. It's the missing piece. It's the assumption we're making that the argument isn't saying.
So yes, I see. Okay, so it's because like at the beginning we have two like fragmented pieces
Yeah,
and you want them together.
yeah, and we're like we have to bridge them somehow. We have to say like, okay, how what does this have anything to do with individual freedom without the rule of law?
Right. So
Nothing.
then we SI. And then if no. Yeah, okay. I
I just
understand.
like to see what a wrong answer looks like. So A says there can be no rule of law without social integrity. So this would say that if we have the rule of law, that means that we have the social integrity. But this doesn't this is the opposite of what we need actually. Because this would so if we do the contrapositive here, it would be if we had no social integrity, that would mean that we have no rule of law.
Mhm.
That not having a rule of law doesn't trigger anything for us. It doesn't connect it. Because what this would do is, yeah, we would have nothing here. Like we would have like no individual freedom and we would have no good life, but it's not helping us connect rule of law and individual freedom at all. Like they're still separated.
So, but what if, like, you know how we have, there's no individual freedom without the rule of law. So then there's, if no rule of law, then no individual freedom. So if there's no social integrity, then there's no rule of law, which means there's no individual freedom.
In ours, it does that, but ours isn't connected because so in the if we would in answer choice A, the issue is like yes, technically if there is no social integrity, there would be none of these things, but that doesn't guarantee that there's no individual freedom without the rule of law. This is just guaranteeing that we don't have these things if there's no social integrity.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like okay, cool, but what happens if we don't know about the social integrity? Then nothing happens.
Right. Yeah, like still nothing happens. Yeah, I see. It just needs to like, even if nothing happens, it still needs to make sense, which is what B lets it be.
Yes. Like the thing is we have the in our answers choice that we added, we have social integrity triggering the rule of law, which is what not having the rule of law is what's triggering not having social integrity, which is that we need the rule of law to be the sufficient or the contrapositive, I should say. Let's do another one. I think these are ones that you can talk about.